On today's episode of Locked On Wild, losing to the Avs on Sunday definitely hurts, but the Wild got a great blueprint as to what they need to chase the rest of the season.
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
Hey, this is Marcus Foligno, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Seth Toupal. Welcome to Locked On Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Locked On Wild is your daily Minnesota Wild podcast. We are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on all of your favorite audio platforms, Apple and Spotify, and make sure to follow us on YouTube as well, so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we will look at the lessons to pull from the loss to the Avalanche on Sunday, including why a top 6 forward is still a huge priority for the Minnesota Wild. We'll also talk about the rumblings that Ryan Hartman may be on the trade block for the Minnesota Wild and why Bill Guerin would be dangling Hartman to try to get something back in return. And we'll also preview tonight's matchup against the Nashville Predators, a team that may have a player that the Wild are looking at as they get closer to the trade deadline. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, credentialed media member, host of the show since 2021. I've been covering the Minnesota Wild for the last 5 seasons. And let's start with the bad right off the bat. Sunday's game was not great. A 5-1 win for the Colorado Avalanche. The Wilds just did not have their A game, and the Avs certainly flexed what has been a historic season for them. I liken it to trying to paddle a rowboat in a tsunami. Just relentless pressure by the Colorado Avalanche. You had the two of the best players on the planet in Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar. They were out to make a statement against the Minnesota Wild, and they certainly did. And look, I understand that the Wild had played. They were on the second night of a back-to-back. They had played a handful of games. They had played 7 games in the last 11 days. I get that. But I think in the 2 games now that the Wild have played against Colorado this season, you've got a very clear picture as to what needs to happen against Colorado night in and night out. You need to be at your best. You need to bring your full A game no matter what. And if you don't, you are putting yourself in a real tough position in trying to knock the Avs off. One of the areas that ended up deciding the contest was the special teams battle. The Wild penalty kill has been a little on the leaky side over the last handful of games after being rock solid through the month of November. The Minnesota Wild penalty kill in the month of December now is at 74%. So it's still above 60, which, let's be honest, anything above 60 at this point is great. I'm all about it. But the Colorado Avalanche, their power play sits at 16.7%, and they were near the bottom of the list on the road as far as road power play goes. So if you're going to go toe-to-toe against the best team in the Western Conference, you can't let them, and let's be honest, best team in the NHL, not just the Western Conference. You can't let them beat you at the spot in which they have struggled the most this season. You have to use that as footing. You got to use that as footing to be able to get yourself up to their level throughout the course of the game. And a couple of power play goals for the Avs, that was all it took. As far as some of the peripheral numbers go, I know the 4 allowed by Jesper doesn't look great. I think he was above average as far as goals saved above expected go. The defense, I don't think the defense was ready for the push and the pressure that the Avs generated. They weren't ready for it on Sunday. And so you just are facing a torrent of pressure pretty much the whole game. And, that's the difference. The Wild offensively, they generated a solid amount, but Mackenzie Blackwood was better than Jesper Wallstedt. It really boils down to those couple of key things. It's amazing how some of these matchups like this, how it just boils down to those critical matchups. And if you don't handle those key matchups, you're going to have a very hard time winning those games. So this happened. We're not even at the midway point of the season yet. So the fact that this happened now, and the fact that the Wild now have a split in the 2 games against the Avalanche, you know exactly what you need to do. And John Hines after the game said as much. He said, "No, I didn't feel like we didn't want it." And you even saw a little frustration, I think, in the game. Marcus Foligno took that penalty, and I think the frustration was in the fact that the Wild didn't have their best. Anytime you go up against the team with the target on their back, you want to have your best game to be able to throw at them. And the Wilds, they just didn't. You take that as the lesson and you move on. It's not anything that needs to be dwelled upon. If I'm being perfectly honest, I've seen some weird reactions to this game. You get them a couple more times the rest of the season. Use it as an opportunity to just get better and know what you need to do when you go up against them the next time. So it comes down to the special teams. Color me shocked that that is a key factor for these types of games. And the lineup as well. And I know this is something that Denny's going to go into extensively for his next show, which, by the way, for those that were hoping for a show last night, that was my schedule that got a little wonky. We are going to have Denny's next show on the 30th. So a week from today, we're going to have his show, and standard time, 8 p.m. We've got no Wild games that night, nothing else. So we had a clear schedule open, and right in between 2 West Coast games. So we got a Vegas game the night before that we'll be able to react to, and a Sharks game coming up the following night. So it's special teams. It is just the defense needs to, I think, shore things up in this matchup. The defense has been great all season, and even in the month of December, considering the loss, the Wild have allowed 24 goals in 11 games. That's 2.18 goals per game. So it was a bad night. It was a bad night, and you move on to the next game. But I think the other thing that is interesting is you look at this lineup, and I fully support the decisions that were made, and it looks like this is going to be the same lineup for the game tonight against the Predators. I fully support the decisions that were made as far as the lineup goes, because you have the Matt Boldy, Joel Eriksson Ek, Marcus Johansson line that has been clicking at a great pace for most of the season. You have the Danila Yurov, Vladimir Tarasenko, Yakov Trenyan line that has been fantastic for the last week plus. And so you don't want to break those up, because you have a better chance to win if you have 3 lines from a scoring perspective. If you have 3 lines that are clicking on all cylinders, you stand a much better chance to win than having 2 lines that can beat you. It's just a math thing. So I understand the decision to put Ryan Hartman as the top line center, trying to rekindle some of what Kirill, Hartsey, and Zuki had in the 2021-2022 season. Fully get that. Fully understand it. As far as the offense goes, Hartsey did score later in the game. I still think that is the spot. That is the spot in the lineup that needs to be addressed. We'll talk about that later on here in the show, but That gave you a good indication because you look at what the Avs have at their disposal. You've of course got Nathan MacKinnon, and as far as the faceoffs go, weird night in the dot because a few different players more than held their own. Danila Yurov got he got beat up pretty good in the dot, but other than that, I mean, Eriksson Ek was 13 out of 30. That's not great. Ryan Hartman was 12 out of 19, 63%. That's awesome. And then Danila Yurov was 2 out of 12. Nico Sturm was 3 out of 8. Eriksson Ek 13 out of 30. But the depth that the Avs have up the middle and the versatility that they have. I mean, they have Brock Nelson. They got Nathan MacKinnon. Gabe Landeskog took 11 faceoffs. You've got Jack Drury, who is a very good secondary scoring piece. Ross Colton. You got Gavin Brindley. You got plenty of guys that can take those faceoffs. And it just feels like the Wild need one more center to match up. I know we haven't done a ton as far as the possible trade pieces go because we still have, I mean, it's December 23rd right now. You got January, you got the whole month of January to make moves. I'm pretty adamant that I think teams will start to aggressively pursue trade options before the Olympic break. But the Avs, in the game against the Wild, they went MacKinnon, Nelson, Colton, Drury down the middle. And you've got Landeskog, who took a bunch of faceoffs. You've got Brindley, who took a few. They have plenty of options, but MacKinnon, Nelson, Colton as your top three, real solid. And if the Wild could get somebody to take that spot, you're putting yourself in a better position to match what the Avs are doing. Now, what do you have available as far as assets go? Not a ton, but you still have some assets. And it may involve a player on the roster being moved in order to accommodate a trade from a salary perspective and to offset some of the cost that would be picked up as far as assets go. So interesting that a name like Ryan Hartman is seemingly being floated. We'll talk about that here in just a bit. As well as final segment tonight, we'll be taking a look, of course, at the game against the Nashville Predators here this evening. We'll sneak in a break. More Locked On Wild on the way right after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it is unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets. Long queues, endless screens, and price changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. And the best part about it is you no longer have to worry about planning ahead weeks in advance. Ticket prices actually go down the closer you get to your event. And if you're headed to a new arena, Game Time gives you panoramic seat views from every seat in the house. So you know exactly what to avoid, where your best sight lines are. Game Time makes it all as easy as a click. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Welcome back to today's edition of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day, and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out the Everydayer Club, which enhances your Locked On Wild experience by offering you ad-free audio for Locked On Wild, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app, plus an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show and will get you ready for whatever the season has in store. You can find the link in the show notes to join the Everydayer Club today, and if you are looking for even more bonus content, check out Locked On Wild All Access. Link in the show notes as well. So, some reports out from the large media landscape, the national media landscape, that Ryan Hartman may indeed be on the trade block. Chris Johnston regarding Ryan Hartman 2 days ago. The Wild probably need to be adding more strength down the middle rather than shedding it. However, a slow start to the season put Ryan Hartman's name in trade rumors this fall. Now, I will say that Hartman's play has certainly stepped up for this season. I mean, he scored against the Avs. And if you look at what Ryan Hartman has done in the month of December, his play has really come alive for this Minnesota Wild team. Hartman is currently, he's all the way up to, I believe, 8 goals on the season. And he's got 9 goals throughout the course of the full season. And if we go to the start of the month of December, in which the Wild are 8-3, by the way, Ryan Hartman has really started to do some nice things. He's got 5 goals in the last 11 games and 7 total points. So Hartman is starting to really pick it up. There was some rumblings from Daily Faceoff that Ryan Hartman could potentially be moved in a deal with the Philadelphia Flyers. Let's be honest, that is, I think, if you're going to move a guy like that, I think that is a perfect fit. But I don't know. I go back and forth on this. I feel like if you put Hartman a little further down in the lineup, that I think you're putting him in position to best succeed. And Anthony DeMarco, who is a contributor to the Daily Faceoff, he was looking at a possible deal between the Minnesota Wild and the Philadelphia Flyers. Apparently, according to him, the Minnesota Wild offered Ryan Hartman up to the Flyers for a variety of different pieces. Now, Hartman has an average annual value of $4 million, along with a 15-team no-trade list. And this is, I think, one spot that you could look to if you're going to bring somebody else onto the roster to try to do just an even swap, like pull this guy out, add somebody to the mix to fill the void. DeMarco goes on to say, I was told that Hartman was a name the team was open to moving if they needed to clear out salary. With GM Bill Guerin already making a major move, I'm told the Wild don't feel like they have to trade Hartman now. With a little more than $8.3 million in projected cap space at the trade deadline, per Puckpedia, the Wild have left themselves financial flexibility if they want to make another trade. But Hartman still remains an option to be moved if Minnesota looks to make another impact move. Reading the tea leaves, I believe Guerin is far from done wheeling and dealing. Important point to note as well for the Minnesota Wild, they are basically fully healthy now. Zach Bogosian was activated off of injured reserve. So now with the full month of January and the full month of February, if you want it, you, assuming nobody else gets dinged, now you can start accumulating cap space towards the deadline to build up that cap deadline space. But again, this is something that we thought at some point could weigh in to the equation, would be having to move a player off the roster to fill a spot and to offset some salary. So it is an option, but I would imagine with the fact that Hartman is fifth on the team as far as points go, and he is tied with Vladimir Tarasenko and Kirill Kaprizov for second on the team in goals in that span. Matt Boldy is first with 7. I would imagine you're wanting to try to keep a guy like that for lineup depth. So that is something definitely worth monitoring as the season unfolds. We've got, the trade deadline's in March. Most of February is the Olympic break. I would imagine teams are going to get real aggressive about the middle of January to try to make some moves. So we'll keep an eye on that. One of the players that has been rumbled about is playing for the team the Wild are playing tonight. So we'll do a little check-in on Mr. Ryan O'Reilly, as well as a couple of other names for the suddenly upstart Nashville Predators, who are playing their best hockey of the season, their best hockey of the last couple of seasons, to say the least. I bet Barry Trotz is wondering where the heck this has been. We'll talk about Preds Wild tonight as we finish today's episode of Locked on Wild right after this. Today's episode of Locked on Wild is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you are reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. We know by now, everydayers know by now, that my preferred option for NHL games is the anytime goal scorer. You can set it before the game starts, pick your favorite player, and just kick back and see if they can deliver. The Wild playing the Predators tonight, and I am just going to continue to roll with the hottest player on the planet right now for the Minnesota Wild. Give me Vladimir Tarasenko to score an anytime goal in tonight's game against the Nashville Predators. A little quiet against the Avs. I think that line gets back on track against the Predators tonight. So Vladimir Tarasenko, anytime goal. Who'd have thought that I would be saying that now, considering where we were at the beginning of the season? But hey, you just got to roll with the punches. And if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Final segment of today's episode of Locked on Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen each and every day. Again, make sure to like and subscribe on all of your favorite audio platforms and on YouTube so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Our next live show with Denny will be Tuesday the 30th. Taking a little breather for the Christmas break, and also the fact that my schedule just got crazy this week. So we will be back to regular episodes with Denny Tuesday night this week, the 30th. So stay tuned. Join us then, 8 o'clock on Tuesday the 30th, and we've got plenty of surprises in store for you. The Nashville Predators are coming to town to take on the Minnesota Wild, and Nashville is 7-3 in 10 games so far in the month of December. They're still near the bottom of the standings as far as the Central Division goes. They have just pulled ahead of the Winnipeg Jets and the Chicago Blackhawks, but they are a full 15 points behind the Minnesota Wild. They do have 2 games in hand. but still on the season, they are 15, 16, and 4, or as we like to often say, 15 and 20. But you look at how they have played over this last 10-game stretch, and they beat the Avs in a shootout 4-3. They beat the St. Louis Blues 7-2. They beat St. Louis again 5-2. They beat the very lowly Toronto Maple Leafs 5-3. They beat New York 2-1. The losses in that span include Colorado, Carolina, the Carolina Hurricanes twice, and a 5-2 loss to the Winnipeg Jets in that same span. So they've beaten the teams below them in the standings. They have beaten a few of the teams above them. They picked up a win against the Avs. So they are a team that is certainly starting to pick it up. They're starting to score goals more frequently. And this is going to be the best version of this team that the Wild have played arguably in the last 2 years. Their penalty kill, not great. 83.8 is pretty good. Power play is not great at 19.4%. And so you just got to take care of your business. This is a great opportunity for the Wild to bounce back after the game on Sunday. Going into the Christmas break, you've got a few days off after this, so you can let it fly. You can, if you need to, double shift some people, you certainly can. But this is a divisional opponent, and this is a real good way to finish things off before the break. You really only have 2 players that have been exclusively carrying the goal load over the last 10 games. Steven Stamkos and Philip Forsberg have combined for 15 goals in the last 10 games. Stamkos has 8. Forsberg has 7 in that span. And then you got Michael Bunting with 4. You've got Jonathan Marchessault and Reed Schaefer with 3 apiece. So you got to keep those guys. On the plan at all times. You got to know where they're at all times, but they are very capable of beating you. And as far as the goaltending for Nashville goes, UC Saros in the month of December, he's 6-2, 2.66 goals against average, a .914 save percentage. Justus Annunen is 1-1 with a 1.83 goals against average and a .932 save percentage. But as far as possible trade pieces go, and Denny's been about at the front of the line as far as Ryan O'Reilly goes. So finally, O'Reilly's starting to finally make some national steam. But he's been talked about on the Locked On Wild circles for a month at least. If you look at his stats for the entirety of the season, he's got 10 goals, 30 total points in 35 games. He has points in his last at least 5 games. He's got points in 5 straight. And still playing 19 plus minutes a night. So you're not even at 34. You're not worrying about major dips in his production. But the area that he would be brought in to fix essentially exclusively would be the dot, the face-off circle. And if you look at what O'Reilly has done this year in the circle, 56.2%. He was at 55.7 last year, 53 the year previous. And you're talking 1,500 attempts. 1,500 attempts for a guy that scored 20 plus the last 2 years and has missed 3 total games before this season over the last 2 years. So he's shown durability. My question is how is, and this is something that I think would probably have to be dove into to a full extent. How is his skating? How is his foot speed? Is he getting around all right? Because you've got Kirill Kaprizov and you got Matt Zuccarello on that top line. You want somebody that's going to be able to help push the pace for those guys, and somebody that is going to be able to handle passes from Kirill Kaprizov that nobody else other than Matt Zuccarello expects. So you want somebody that's going to have a little offensive acumen to their game as well. And then if you get that spot knocked down and ironed out, then Joel Eriksson Ek is your tried and true second line center. Danila Yurov is your third line center. Nico Sturm's your fourth line center. And I think you feel pretty dang good about that heading into the postseason. So I think we are all expecting one more move to be made. The question is when, and the question is what will it cost? The Wild, I will just throw this out there just to keep in the back of your head. Most of the offensive prospects now having been moved, the Wild do still have a couple of defensive prospects that they can move to make a move, that they can dole out if they need to go get somebody, but it's not as appealing as a Yves Bouillon, as a Liam Ogren, as a Marco Rossi. But you still have names such as Carson Lambos. You've got David Spacek. You've got Jack Pert. You still have names that are intriguing enough for teams to go at. So you've still got some assets that you can use to make another move. The question just is, what is Bill Guerin's particular fancy? And so we'll have to wait and see what percolates, because I think we can all agree Bill Guerin's preferred style of move is the moves that nobody is expecting. We didn't have Quinn Hughes linked anywhere, and yet here we are. So it's going to be somebody that is probably just off the radar. It's going to be somebody that's a team that falls apart between now and the trade deadline, or a team that is floundering right now that finally says, yeah, we can't compete. So we're going to take a step back and we're going to try this again next year. So we'll see who exactly that is. And we'll see if the Wild can take care of business tonight against the Nashville Predators in the final game before the Christmas break. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for tuning into today's show. On tomorrow's episode of Locked On Wild, we're going to have a little Christmas fun. The time-honored tradition is back. The 12 days of Wild Christmas coming up for you on tomorrow's show. Make sure to follow us on social media as well at Locked On Wild. We'll see you after the game tonight for a Locked On Wild postcast, hopefully after a Minnesota Wild win. Either way, though, we'll break everything down with you later tonight. If you need a last-minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club as part of Locked On Wild. Ad-free episodes of the show, exclusive Discord access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted. See the link in the show notes for more. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen NHL game night on Locked On NHL. We'll catch you for the next episode right here on Locked On Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.